And so we have a national debt. Yes, it does seem counterintuitive, but Alexander Hamilton was correct in the fact that this could help the nation as it began. Again, his idea was that it was not going to grow so large and so unwieldy as to control us, but we were going to keep it moderate. Again, we're at $26 trillion right now. I leave the decision up to you. And so, how are we going to pay for that? Okay, we now have a national debt of about $75 million. Now, even in today's money, as I said previously, $75 million would be a lot of money. But back then, it was a phenomenal amount of money. But even with this huge national debt, Alexander Hamilton really was not concerned. He didn't have any kind of fear about this leading to the destruction of the nation or causing damage or anything like that. In fact, he saw it as an asset. Okay, and his argument was the following, and it does make sense. The more people the government owed money to, the more people would care what happened to the U.S. as a nation. Because you think about it, let's say you are one of the people who's loaned the government money. Well, you want to make sure that the government survives and goes forward and everything so that you're going to get your money back. You know, if you have lent money to the government and the government collapses, you're not going to get your cash back. And so as a result, the idea here was to get people to see the U.S. as a very good investment option, that we were a good credit risk. He wanted the people from, not just within the United States, but from anywhere really, to be able to invest in the United States because once they had, it would be in their best interest to see to it that the country survived. Now, this would be of immense benefit to the nation itself, to the people living here, for those who had invested in the country this way. So it was a definite plus. Now, the problem is you do have to figure out some way to pay that off. If you have a debt and you're making payments on time plus extra, that's going to help you be that good credit risk. But if you're not able to make the payments on time, well, then you're going to be a poor credit risk. So Hamilton came up on how we could go through and start paying some of this debt off. Okay. First off, he proposed some custom duties. Okay, these are essentially taxes on goods coming into the United States from other nations. Okay, the first one was a low tariff of 8%. Okay, 8% of the value of the imports, the dutiable imports. This was passed in 1789. Think about it this way. Let's say you were purchasing something from France, and let's say that that item costs you $1. Well, if there is an 8% duty on that, what that means is it's going to cost you $1.08. Okay, so for every dollar, an 8% tariff basically means you're going to have to pay an additional 8 cents. Now, again, 8 cents in the grand scheme of things, not a whole lot when you're looking at a dollar, but if you're talking about something that is thousands of dollars, the numbers do start to add up. Now, it wasn't just to pay off the debt that Hamilton wanted this in place. He also wanted to protect America's infant industries. Okay, we did have finally some growth in industry in this nation. Remember, during colonial times, the crown was dead set against us doing anything on our own. We were to provide essentially the raw materials. Britain would provide the finished goods, and then we'd buy the finished goods from Britain. Well, now we have our own industries are starting up. Now, Britain, again, after the Revolution, tried to dump a lot of cheap goods on us in the hope that that would crush our infant industries, but they managed to survive. So, while we are still dominated by agriculture, okay, this is going to start to help convincing people that it's a little bit cheaper to buy American and therefore they will invest in those products. Little was really being done to change us over at this point from an agricultural to an industrial economy, though it was beginning to happen. Another thing that Hamilton put in place, 1791, he secured what's known as an excise tax on a few domestic items. Excise taxes are also sometimes called sin taxes. They are taxes on particular items. In this case, whiskey. This was a big part of it. You had essentially 7 cents a gallon tax placed on all whiskey created in the United States. And the problem was you had a number of farmers, since we didn't have a lot of gold and silver for money, a lot of them were literally making whiskey to use in place of money. So this was going to have a massive effect on a large number of people. Remember, I said we are a predominantly agricultural nation at this time. To go through and put this tax on whiskey was going to have a huge impact and was going to get quite a few folks riled up. The import duties, that is going to upset some people, but not nearly as many. You know, when you're looking at the farmers in this case, you're going to have quite a few folks really be upset with the government over this, and they're going to make their complaints known in a very short amount of time.